I, Hephaestus, have crafted many a weapon, tool, and shield, but one of my proudest creations was a necklace. Beautiful gold, I spent much time on the delicate, intricate heads of snakes that met at the mouth to clasp together. In fact, the whole chain was flexible, like an actual serpent, moving and bending with metallic scales. But a golden eagle was adorned at the center of the chain, spread wings as if in flight, but with 4 mighty wings instead of 2. And each wing was a different gemstone. Glimmer jewels from raw materials that took days to carve. One wing was a soft yellow jasper. The next was of a mysterious moonstone, which shifts with the moonlight of Selene itself to reflect her cycles as she wanes and waxes in the skies. The third wing was carved of polished pearl, delicate work. The last wing was of agate, inlaid perfectly. It is a thing to behold, but it was a gift made for a goddess of Olympia, goddess of harmony and concord, Harmonia, a bright child. She soothed strife for gods and mortals alike, but oh, what dispute she was born of. For she was raised by Electra, a child of Atlas, one of the Pleiades, the star nymphs of Mount Seon by Samothrace. She was loved by Zeus for a time. But I am no fool. Harmonia is a child of my own wife, Aphrodite, but she is no blood of mine. That reprobate brute, Ares, still lies with her. She is birthing bastards still for her so-called love. Even after exposing their betrayal, trapping them in my snare for the whole court to see, it was not enough. For the gods laughed at me. Not the disgusting liars before them. The court no longer mocks me openly, but still. After the pain of my very birth, to prove myself to even stand where I am now, who else on this mountain has had to fight to be loved as I have? Do I not deserve love? I wish to find it with Aphrodite, so to be spurned still, lied to and tossed away, to feel only the sting of hurt and betrayal, where there should be comfort and safety. If I cannot be loved, if I cannot stop their love, I will ruin their happiness. They will feel pain as I do. I have not had my true revenge on them. Perhaps that is why they sent their precious children away, but this necklace would change everything. If I cannot shame them, if I cannot banish them for their perfidy and adultery, I would punish their children, the rotting fruits of their filthy debauchery. None of their line will be spared. Damus, Phobos, but first, Harmonia. I gave Aphrodite the gift of the necklace, and seated a charm or two into the robes of Athena, but I knew they would go to Harmonia, for it was her wedding to the great hero Cadmus, and all the gods were invited to attend, and each would bring a gift. Aphrodite.
I had no idea of the power, the anger, and the will of my husband, that he could stoop to cause such pain. But I was a fool. I was blinded. All I felt was joy, for my daughter was to be married, and to a man who had proven his worth. Cadmus. He was the son of King Agenor and Queen Telephassa of the city of Tyre, brother to Phoenix, Cilix, and Europa. founder of Thebes, slayer of beasts. He served Ares for years, but those are tales for another time. His deeds led him to be proven worthy to the gods. Ares longed to reward the impressive mortal, and suggested to Zeus, our child. Zeus announced the betrothal to all the court. They all knew we were entangled once, but we were forced to promise no more. But Ares and I couldn't help ourselves. Our love is true and impossible to stop. Luckily, our queen, Hera, she had Zeus's ear and a fondness for her beloved son. Ares is so often overlooked by all, and the court of Olympus is difficult to keep balanced. Hera, still on her own path to forgiveness from her son Hephaestus, she knew the court would never let him be if our children remained on Olympus. The disgrace it could bring, the ire from Hephaestus. But if she were to forbid Ares, his anger could become volatile. Our queen then plotted to keep both her sons happy by sending our children away from the prying eyes of court. For she knows the ways to keep the court silent and can stir the tides of the gods. She convinced Zeus time and time again to send our children away and forbid the gods to speak of them, as favour to her, as favour to his own son Ares. And all this to spare Hephaestus further humiliation. For Hephaestus holds much sway as master forger, creator of Zeus's own lightning bolts. And who knows what could become of our divine family? It is a well-known secret, but none of the gods are bold enough to outright challenge Zeus. I thought we were safe, that they were safe, that she, my daughter, Harmonia, was safe. And after all these years, watching her grow from afar, watching her bloom on the mountain of Seon, when Ares came to tell me of her betrothal, I wept, for I would get to see my daughter wed. The wedding was to be a feast for the ages, held in the city of Thebes, and the gods were invited to attend and bless the couple with gifts. I should have been suspicious of my husband, but I had hoped his plot with the net had satisfied his anger. He seemed to have forgiven me for my love with Ares, and with the excuse of all gifting my child, I requested Hephaestus's expertise, as many of our family had. When he presented the golden, shimmering necklace, I was in awe of its beauty. He handed it to me with a soft smile, and I felt power in waves as it was placed into my palms. I asked of the charm, the enchantment that was held within.
Eternal youth, eternal beauty, while wearing this necklace, none can harm them.
I should have been wary, but at hearing those words, all I could imagine was my daughter, beautiful, young, and safe, forever. I wanted to believe it more than anything, and so I pushed all doubt from my mind and wrapped it in soft fabric to keep it safe until I could give it to her myself, my Harmonia. The days of celebration were drawing closer. Flowers and foods for the feast were gathered. The great Acropolis, the Cadmea, named after her betrothed, decorated with such splendor. Harmonia stayed on the mountain of her youth until the first ceremonies were to begin. I was eager to see her up close for the first time in a long time. In the Proaulia, the final days of her maidenhood before becoming a wife, she was allowed to be with the female relatives of her family. The lie that she is the child of Zeus meant any goddess was allowed to visit her in this time. Her first time off the mountain, exploring what would be her new city, Harmonia went to the temples dedicated to Athena and Selene. She left her old toys on their altars, as is tradition, and we goddesses, Hera, Artemis, Athena, and others, met her on the mountain again. She was even more beautiful up close. She soothed all with her soft voice and kind eyes. I have never felt more at peace than in her presence. She seemed scared, and so I stole a moment with her as the other goddesses were leaving, going to the chariot that waited to take us back to Olympus as the sun set. I walked to her, and we stood at the edge of the mountain, looking out. I took her hand. I pulled her into my arms for a tight embrace. She hugged me right back, her small hands clutching my robes. I felt a tear slip down my cheek into her dark hair, but I wiped it away before any could see. The next day was Gamos. No wonder she was nervous. I bid her rest well with a hand on her cheek. I kissed her forehead and promised to be there to bless their union, and Harmonia smiled. She waved at our chariot until the clouds covered her from view. The next morning, with the glorious sun shining down, the muses sang songs as the guests arrived. Apollo played his lyre. It brought tears to the mortals' eyes with its harmonies. The muses sang the lovely verse, "What is beautiful is loved, what is not beautiful is not loved." It could be heard from the first step through any of the 7 gates of Thebes, and hundreds had gathered for this celebration. Harmonia was glowing as she processed the line between the crowds. Their ceremony was sweet, and the roaring crowds filled the air with joy as the happy couple left the temple. Cadmus helped the veiled Harmonia into their chariot, and their procession to his home began. The streets were filled with the settlers of Thebes, and torches lit their way to their home. We left them with showers of flowers and dried fruits, a blessing for fertility as they spent their first night together. The lovely couple welcoming us all back the next day for the Apaulia. We gods met them the following morning and bestowed our gifts one by one. Our king, the mighty Zeus, bestowed a blessing of success upon them both with a golden shower of light. Hera presented the couple with golden matching thrones. Poseidon then stepped forward. He offered glowing gifts from the sea, a string of large pearls and fresh fish caught. Hermes presented Cadmus with a scepter, and Apollo presented him with a bow. Athena presented Harmonia with a stunning robe, delicate golden thread embroidered around the cuffs and edges. And finally, it was my turn. I unwrapped the golden necklace and presented it to the couple. I still remember Harmonia's surprised gasp, the way her eyes lit up as she saw the necklace. I clasped the snakes' heads together, securing it around her neck. She hugged me tightly, thanking us all for the gifts and blessings bestowed upon them both. And suddenly, the celebrations were over. When we went back to Olympus, I wept into Ares' arms. The shock, the joy, the relief, and still the bitter sting at being so close yet so far from my own child. It overwhelmed me then, but little did I know of the pain that would come, of the suffering of sweet Harmonia and her children.
When they returned, and Aphrodite kissed my cheek, only to depart to run into Ares' arms, I was left alone in my forge, the Cyclopes resting in their beds. I slipped from the palace of Olympus under cover of night, and to the old palace under the oceans I did go. The room of mirrors, the room of scrying, will show me what I seek. Finally, they will know pain. Ares and Aphrodite will know suffering and heartache as I do from them. As the images flicker to life, I can see the future of what is to come. Ares and Aphrodite will watch as their daughter and her husband are banished from the city of Thebes. Harmonia's gifts for peace are dampened by her robes, the ones I knew Athena would give, but the necklace will do what I designed. Her husband, Cadmus, will be transformed into a snake, and she, sweet Harmonia, in a bath of wine, will hold the snake form of Cadmus in her arms, and she will beg to be with him. And the gods will transform her in a flash of scales into a writhing snake, never to be human again. And it will not stop there. For the curse of the necklace, the misfortune and suffering, it will spread. First to their daughter, Semele, who begged Zeus to reveal his true form, and she will burn to death before his eyes. Zeus may save Dionysus, but his mother will not live to see it. Then Queen Jocasta and her son, Oedipus, for she is wearing my trinket when she marries her own son. For this horror she will take her own life, and each of their children will suffer and perish. The images flicker again, and I see a wife, Eriphyle, bribed with my necklace as payment to convince her husband to fight in a war in which he will surely die. When the husband never returns, Eriphyle is slain by her own son, as he suspected her plot to kill his father. And so, the necklace is passed through more hands. The images show faces of men and women who all receive the necklace until there is only a building to display, a temple to Athena, where it should have been safe from causing more harm, and my face twists into a sneer as I see the people come and go, with no tragedy in sight, until a Phoenician leader plunders the temple and finds my beauty once more. He brings it home as gift to his mistress. There it stays for years, dropping poison into her son's ears. Eventually, he snaps and burns their homes down. She dies with the necklace glittering in the firelight. The picture then fades, the necklace lost in the ground with her body. But all this is yet to come. All these tales are for another time.